So your reticular activating system is a structure common to mammals and is necessary for consciousness to occur, or consciousness is awareness. Consciousness, when we're talking about spirituality, is a different thing. Here we're talking about awareness. So your RAS filter data is coming to your mind so that the perception of event agrees with your past. Understand this, right? That's a very important thing to understand. Everything you see, hear, smell, feel, and touch is a message entering your brain. Your RAS filters all of these messages and decides which one you will get or what appears in the outside world.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 344. Hope you're amazing as always. Always say it, always mean it. Do you know what I mean? Today is a good episode. It's a good episode. I often do what? I break down clips, we do articles. Do you know what? Oh, interviews too. But do you know what I haven't done in a while? Actually played you any technical stuff. Do you know what? I was looking through my Vimeo and the 8-Figure Thinker and the top 1% performer things we've done in the past, and I've got a lot of content. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of content, and then we're up to episode 344. That's a lot of content. And do you know what? It's not everyone gets to see it, not everyone gets to hear it, and not everybody gets to actually feel what it feels like to be, in a training with me. And it's crazy because I get a lot of people in different groups, and I've trained a lot of people, and they love what I do, right? And most of these people, I swear this is my audience, right? They're alpha hustling entrepreneurs who are a little bit nerdy, I get a little bit technical. I don't get a little bit technical. I can get real technical, and there's a big difference between motivation and motivational coaching and mental high performance. There's a big difference, you know what I mean? I'm teaching about how the brain is structured and how to interrupt patterns, how to deal with stepping into the most stressful situation. And I don't mean like taking breaths and being calm and stepping. No, we're talking about how to interrupt the patterns, how to change your focus in the moment, stop the emotion, change the emotion, pre-program the brain and the nervous system so it responds the right way. Things like that, right? That's what I love to do. 20 years of this game, right? And that's what I want to show more. So I've looked over the years at bringing sponsors on, and they're all good. I love people that do, and it's a good revenue stream. But you know what? You listening right now are here for a reason, and you probably want to hear more about what I've got going on and who the people I'm with and what we're building. And that becomes like the sponsor. So I'm thinking playing with putting this in at the start for people. Sometimes people don't hear what actually we've got going on that can help them, and that's kind of heartbreaking. And one of the things that we got going on, and this is why I wanted to put today's episode out, because it was actually from a previous training that I did, which was actually a 12-week training where I took a group of high performers through a complete upgrade in every capacity, mentally and business-wise. And it was badass. I've done a lot of these over the years where it's been in person. I've hired out the W Hotel nightclub in Hoboken overlooking the New York skyline for events. I've spoken all around the world, been on bigger stages in London and all over the place. But I just want to help. I really do. My biggest thing is about giving people freedom. It really, really is. Whether you're transitioning from corporate into being an entrepreneur and building your own income, whether you are launching your own products online, whether you're kicking ass doing stuff online already, right? Or whether you're a trader and you discovered crypto in the digital world. I just want to help. And one of the things, I'll explain what I want to do in a minute, but today's episode, let's even go there. I'm going all over the place today. Today's episode is really giving you a little snapshot about how to create a different perception over something instantly. Would that be helpful? Would that be helpful to remember the past about something that happened and went wrong and be able to see it instantly differently? Would that be helpful? Of course it would, right? Imagine being able to see that next project you're about to launch, or stepping into that meeting or the IPO or that trade, or being creative around something, or having lateral thinking and being able to solve a problem with a very different perspective. Would that be helpful? Right, of course it would be helpful. Well, what you saw at the start was just a very brief explanation as I started to get into it about the brain's filter system. Now, this is common knowledge. It really is these days. Your RAS, your reticular activating system, made famous by Tony Mr. Robbins. He spoke about it for a long, long time. But it really is the truth, because that's how, look at it like this, right? Look at it like this. Why is it that we've all been depressed, right? We've all been sad. We've all been, we've all been down. This is just being a human being in life. And we've all had that experience where we're really, really sad over something. And then someone walks in that we haven't seen in ages, that we love, right? Or we get a phone call, or we watch something. And suddenly we go from sadness to extreme happiness. You had that experience? Or, you might go, no, Andy, I haven't. But if I gave you a car right now and you were sad, and I gave you it for free, and it was, I don't know, Bugatti or something, right? And you could sell it if you wanted to, whatever, right? There's $1 million. Would you be suddenly happy? Yeah, you'd be suddenly happy. Of course you would. Understand, that's not by accident. Yes, you're firing up different neurology in the brain, for sure, different chemicals, for sure. But what you're also doing is adjusting your brain's filter system, or what you focus on, or your perception of reality. Whatever you want to call it, man. But when you start to understand the power of this, it's incredible. It's a power of this for yourself, but a power of this to influence if you're doing sales, power of this to be on stage, power of this to really help a child see a different reality. When you understand the neuroscience behind it, then the belief comes. And when the belief comes, the power comes. And then you start to understand that everyone has a fixed or semi-fixed view of the world, right? Until they gain more information. The neurological boundary expands, and what that means is then the filter in the brain shifts, and then we see a different reality. Sounds a little bit woo-woo? It's not. It's just how things work. And so when you start to really understand this, it's a game changer. Said it game a couple of times. Why? Because it's a game changer. So I really want you to pay attention to today's clip. Yeah, it's just going to be a clip. Really, it's to give you a little taste of how deep you want to go nerding into mental performance as entrepreneurs. That's really it. And my point is, once you've got a certain level of skill set, whether it's entrepreneur or trader, the only thing that makes the difference between somebody winning and somebody who doesn't is how you have designed your brain and how you control your brain, your mind, right? And when you can control your mind, you're able to perform in any circumstance in a beautiful, beautiful way. That's what I'm all about, right? You performing at your very best consistently every day and expanding you into infinite possibilities, expanding you so big into what's possible that you probably didn't even think about it. That's what I love to do. And then the mind is a muscle, right? So we keep pumping that muscle and it changes everything. 20 years of doing this, right? Thousands and thousands of people. And my biggest experiment has definitely been me. If you know my story, not going to go into it, but go to andymurphy.online and you can have a little read. It's a lot of highs, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of traveling around the world. And one of the best in the world for what I do now. And it comes from pure obsession of making myself good, making my life good, and then looking at the minds of other people. And modeling them so I can take that on in my own life and then share those lessons with other people. That's really what it is. So, and now I'm going on a bit of a rant. I get it, right? But we're getting to this episode. And speaking of getting to this episode, just before we do, let me tell you about these couple of things. So if you are a trader or you are building an online brand, you need to listen to this, right? Well, we launched the Genius Trader, 2 weeks ago now, and it's doing really, really well. We've had a massive amount of interest. We've had a flood of buyers, and we've created this badass group right now on Telegram, and people are kicking ass in there and loving it. And the feedback from the actual course is phenomenal. It makes me very happy, very proud that people's trading has gone through the roof already. That's it, man. I just want to put that into your hands and show you what the difference is of world-class performance. So very easy. Just go and check out the training. You'll get to know if it's right for you now. But just go to thegeniustrader.club. thegeniustrader.club. That's it. Go over there. You'll get to see a badass training/interview I did with my buddy Cam Hawkins from the Trading Nut podcast and brand. We linked up and we launched this together. But yeah, I just want to go over there if you're a trader. Crypto, Forex, stocks, options, whatever it is. High level pro, just getting started or thinking about it. You need to get your brain bulletproof. And that's what that's going to do. So head over to thegeniustrader.club. You're going to love it. And the other thing you're going to love is the radical formula. Yes, you are, right? I just spent 2 weeks recording so much content and videos and podcasts and movies and everything else with Ryan Alford. And it's beautiful, man. We're really, really proud of what we've put together. And it's just a high-level mastermind. But it's really hands-on. So we go live every week. And then you're going to get a membership site. You're going to get a private group. But really, you get to interact with me and Ryan. And when you learn about Ryan, you're gonna want to be around him for sure. You know what I mean? Working with brands like the NFL, Apple, Verizon, Ducati, Microsoft. It goes on and on and on. And the thing about that is that's valuable. And he also got one of the top 24, 25 podcasts in the US for business. He's a badass, right? So I teamed up with Ryan, and that was a missing piece to my jigsaw of being able to help people. The radical formula is going to go a lot more than mindset and marketing, but for now, that's what it is. And there's something cool we put out for you as we launch this. We should be launching, I would say, another 3 weeks, and the mastermind will start. We're just going to start reaching out to people now before we start, allowing people to join. But what I would love you to do right now, if you are building any level of online brand, it doesn't matter what it is, 2022 is very different. There's so much noise out there on social media in the industry. So how do you break through? Well, there is strategic tactics and strategy, but the trick here, it's not really a trick, it's just what you got to do. You got to build your own media empire. So what we put together was a beautiful 15-minute mindset and marketing hack to always take action and explode your income in 2022, even if nobody knows you yet. That's the trick, right? So even if nobody knows you yet, you can still blow your brand up and help people. And I'm going to teach you the #1 neuroscience and NLP strategy that shows you exactly why your brain keeps self-sabotaging your income, even if you don't know you are, right? And Ryan's going to teach you some really cool things of how to add an extra 6 figures to your bonus and to your business. And really, this is 15 minutes. It could be a game changer for you, and it's absolutely free right now. So head over to theradicalformula.com. New website's coming up there, and then the official big webinar training is getting put together right now. But you can just go there and get this 15-minute training for free. And it's high-end, it looks awesome, and go and do that. So theradicalformula.com. calm. Do it. Do it. Okay, you done it? Now go and do it. Right. Okay, let's jump into this episode, and I'll see you at the end of the show.
So understand it like this. When you're born, your mind starts out like a blank canvas, okay? Is that strictly true? Now we want to go a little bit deeper. No, it's not. It doesn't start with a blank canvas because we have certain things called genetics and epigenetics. And this means we get certain traits passed to us. But if we were to just look at it, it's like this is a blank canvas, then every single time you have an experience, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. A piece of software is formed, okay? The end of that software, it's a movie or a still picture, okay? But it's an image. And that then affects your filter in your brain, which we'll talk about in a second. So that's your experience, that's your memory, that becomes your reality. Okay, so because you've had thousands and billions of experiences, is it any wonder that it gets a bit messy in there, right? No, it's not. So when we start to understand this, then it leads us to understanding more about your RAS, okay? So your reticular activating system is a structure common to mammals and is necessary for consciousness to occur, or consciousness is awareness. Consciousness, when we're talking about spirituality, is a different thing. Here we're talking about awareness. So your RAS filter data is coming to your mind so that the perception of event agrees with your past. Understand this, right? That's a very important thing to understand. Everything you see, hear, smell, feel, and touch is a message entering your brain. Your RAS filters all of these messages and decides which one you will get or what appears in the outside world. Okay? So if we looked at this diagram here, we got the external events and information on the far right. Great. What's that called? That's called life. Anything that's happening to you, right? So we're actually processing millions of bits of information per second, okay? So this is flooding through our brain. It's too much for our consciousness or our awareness, so it goes through a filter, or your RAS, okay? So it's time and space. What does that mean? Well, what it means to you, right? What language means to you, what memories, what traits, what decisions, attitudes, values, beliefs, self-talk. So information's coming through, it goes through this filter in your brain, it links to the pictures in your back of your head to see if they're congruent. It changes our state or who we are or the emotion. It changes our physiology, and that means it does what? Yeah, it affects how we behave in the world. So when we start to understand this, and we understand this as a muscle, then what we've got to understand is that this filter can adjust very quickly, right? So you can get rid of things from the past that are holding you back very quickly. It means we can also get results for the future very quickly. But what the brain needs to do is it needs to lock onto building this muscle, and it needs to change that filter. And so really, that's the best way to describe it. Now that you understand that neural nets work like a muscle, okay, repeating and building the muscle builds the pattern, and that builds and changes your filter. So simple, another way to look at this is, it's an old one I've said for way over a decade, but it still holds true. It's like you go to buy a new car, right? Or it could be music or anything, right? You might not have even known that car existed. But as soon as you go and see it, test drive it, maybe even buy it, on the way home, what do you see everywhere? Yeah, you see the car. Maybe it's even the same color, right? But suddenly the car didn't exist, but then suddenly it does. So my question is, did the car exist before you saw it? Of course it existed, right? You didn't just pull it out of the ether, or maybe you did, but that's a different conversation. But the car existed. So what I'm trying to say to you is that your filter wasn't set to see it. So it's like if you imagine a window, right? And you've got blinds on the window and the sun's booming through. And the blinds are shut. Does the sun come through? No. But we turn the blinds. Does the sun come through? Yes. Was the sun always there? Yes. That's the same thing with happiness, money, growth of a business, sales, health, everything comes from this understanding of neural nets and filter. Put them together. This is why what I'm doing for you, we're building this version, right? I haven't taught you this yet because there's no need to. Because now you understand, oh, I've been practicing being this version of me. That means my filter system started to adjust. We keep that pattern. Guess what? This becomes the ultimate you. Because what happens through this external events, through your filter system, does it mean that the outside world literally goes away? Well, no. The information that comes through deletes, the filter deletes it, distorts it, and generalizes the information to fit your view of the world. If your view of the world changed, then guess what? They delete and distort and generalizes different information. So that's why we talk about like your network is your net worth, or mirror neurons, and we'll get into all of these things. But if you hang around with very different people, watching very different things, learning very different stuff, the neural nets change, your filter changes, guess what? Suddenly you start to see the world a different way, which means you experience it a different way, okay? So yeah, we don't need to go into that, but it's 2 million bits of information going through our 5 senses every single second. It gets chunked down to something called 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information. Roughly about a handful of things that we can focus on at once. So think about that in your own life. If you've got a billion different projects or ideas, well, guess what? Your filter system can't adjust to it or lock onto it to allow that reality in. So we have to get clearer. There you go, 134 bits of information, right? So this then becomes your reality. It affects your beliefs, your attitudes, your language, and your values. And so what we've got to constantly understand is we can adjust your neural nets, adjust who you are, and adjust your filter, okay? So this goes to the point, like what we spoke about week 1 and week 2, especially week 2 when we were looking at habits, right? What's automatically playing in your head right now? Well, understand, whatever's playing around your head around money, the neural net, the software, and your filter system. Okay, well, that can change. Same with your health, same with relationships, same with yourself. So when we get used to designing what we want, deleting what's stopping us, and installing a different way of seeing the world, this is what we're doing and why we can create results so fast. So again, we are question answering machines. You cannot think about what you don't want to think about it without thinking about it. Think about that, right? I'll say it again. You cannot think about what you don't want to think about without thinking about it. Think about that. So what that means is, we said week 1, what did I say? Do not think of or do not imagine a ninja. Do not think about a ninja. Do not think about a ninja jumping up and down with a pink bow on. Right? You cannot think about what you don't want to think about without thinking about it. So I hope I don't lose all my money. Right. You can't think about losing all your money and not wanting it to happen without thinking about losing your money, right? So we've got to teach you to use language to direct what we do want, okay? So what do we want is, we'll explain more in a second, but what we do want is an abundance of money forever, right? Do you see the difference in focus, the words, the emotion that it connects to us, okay? So a very simple diagram here. And remember, when I show stats and studies, remember what I say always about stats and studies. Yeah, they're all BS. Because you could take 200 people, find out the exact stat that you want. Oh, it's out of 2.64 people, I get this amount of percentage. So really, we use percentages and statistics for generalization. To give us an idea. I just don't trust any of them, because you can see stats for everything. But this basic framework, which seems to be, congruent, is that we say about 50,000 words to ourselves a day. Now, what that means is that people don't teach it 50,000 words. What they teach is around 50,000 memories or thoughts. Now, the challenge with that is every thought, what does it have? Yeah, it has a conversation, has words that go with it. So we're saying all of these things to ourselves every single day. So guess what? Power of self-talk right in the middle of that diagram. So we can go any way, because the power of self-talk affects your thoughts, affects your beliefs, affects your actions and behaviors, feelings and emotions. Well, guess what else? Your feelings and emotions affect your self-talk, which affect your beliefs, which affect your thoughts, which affect your actions and behaviors. Guess what else? Your action and behaviors affect your self-talk, affect your thoughts, affect your beliefs, affect your feelings. You get the idea, right? So if we're having all of these things just pumping around our brain 24/7, guess what? Well, this affects everything about us. So we have to start to take control. Because the thing is, if we're not consciously aware of this stuff, then we can't take control. And I wrote this at the bottom, and someone's head exploding, because the general population's mind gets blown when they look at this stat. Mine was 70% or 80%, thereabouts, stats again, of self-talk for the general population is negative. Now, if we understand what the ramifications of that, man, it's not good, especially when we're talking about health, even health, right? Neuropsychoimmunology. What that means is that your thoughts affecting your cells, affecting your health, right? What else does it mean? It means it affects your motivation. It affects your drive. So when we look at most people who are in a 9-to-5 job or a normal job, living the life that they don't love, and we look at that 70 to 80% self-talk stat, is it any wonder that they're stuck where they are and don't have the drive to change? Of course. And if you had 66% of that negative images on repeat, man, is it any wonder why people get depressed, have anxiety, get stressed, overwhelmed, have a life they don't want? Of course. And that breaks my heart. It genuinely breaks my heart. So what I want everyone to really take on is the power of self-talk. And this is why we got to get control of it.
Okay, crew. There we go. The end of episode 344. And obviously that goes on a minute, probably for another hour or so. And that's just a small chapter in the things that I teach. But hopefully you got some sense out of that. And just understand, right? You might have heard some of that before. And that's a good thing. I'm glad. But just because something's common knowledge doesn't mean it's common practice. And doesn't matter what level we are, a black belt still has to go and train the basics like a white belt, right? And to become a black belt as a white belt, you've got to really study those basics. So This is what it's all about. But when you truly internalize the power of actually understanding the structure of the brain, performance, there's a whole different level. This is not motivation. You get motivation from understanding mental performance. Mental performance means your brain is wired in the correct format, which then creates motivation. Does that make sense? So hopefully you enjoyed that. And you want more? Well, you know where to go, right? If you're a trader, head over to thegeniustrader.club. Go and watch the video there. And hey, you might love it and join. What else? Go and make sure that you're grabbing that 15-minute free training on theradicalformula.com. Remember, hang out with me and Ryan, then your business is going to blow up. It's that simple, right? Couple of weeks we're launching the mastermind community, but right now, why don't you just jump over and go and have a little listen to what we got for 15 minutes. I know you'll love it. It's all beautiful, it's all high end, it looks awesome, and the content's awesome, and you get to know me and Ryan more, you know. Anything else, head over to andymurphy.online. Make sure that you're writing this podcast a review. The link is in the show notes. And what else? Well, yeah, come and hang out with me on social media. Andy Murphy Mindset. And you're going to find me. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Type it in. I'll pop up. Until the next time, much, much love. You have an amazing, amazing week. And make sure you're connecting with me. And oh, yeah. One more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.